What's up everyone, Lexy Gavin-Mather here. Welcome back to the channel. I'm a professional poker player and coach, and check out some of my most interesting hands from the World Series of Poker in 2023. So let's talk about a quick hand that I played. I have little over starting. I think you start with 40,000 chips and I have like 55,000, so it's actually pretty decent. Not too many crazy hands, but I did write one down. So the blinds were 600, 1200, 1200. Under the gun one opens to 2,600. I call in the big blind with 9-6 of hearts. The flop is Jack of spades, 8 of hearts, 5 of diamonds. So I have a gut shot and backdoor hearts, but only 9 high. So I check, and he c-bets pretty small. He c-bets 2K, and I check raise him to 6,200. Now this is a pretty good board for my hand, being that I flatted in the big blind, and like I said, I only have 9 high, and I do have some backdoor equity, so if I check raise there, I can continue barreling on any like heart turns, and if I hit a 7, then I have the nuts. So I check raise to 6,200, he calls. The turn is the king of hearts, so now I've turned the flush draw. I bet again, I bet 4,500, and he tanks for a bit and then folds. So the first hand, the blinds are 1,000, 2,500 with a 2,500 big blind ante. I open the cutoff with Jack Deuce of spades. I raised to 5,500 and I had like 60,000 to start the hand. The small blind calls and he has 30,000 to start the hand, and the big blind calls as well. He had 80K to start the hand. The flop is 5 of clubs. Hi, I don't know him. The flop is 5 of clubs, 5 of hearts, 3 of spades. I decide to c-bet here. I have backdoor spades. I only have Jack Deuce, so it's not a good hand. So I c-bet, and it's a really dry board, so you don't need to go too big. So I go 3,500. Small blind calls and the big blind folds. Now at this point, the small blind only has like maybe 15 big blinds behind. The turn is the 10 of spades, so now I've turned the flush draw. He checks and I shove. I decide to shove for his remaining 15 bigs, and I get the fold. So that's a really good result with Jack Deuce of spades. So the blinds are 1,500, 3K, 3K. Under the gun player limps, and he has like 130,000 effective. So he had like a big stack. So I thought it was really super weird that he limped. The button, who had 50,000 effective, raises to 6,500. So just like a little over a min raise against a limper. I just thought that both of these plays were really weak. And so I decide to 3-bet with Queen of Spades, Jack of Diamonds, and I have 80K, and they both fold. So that's just like one of those spots where it's good to kind of, you know, that's a good spot to chip up when you're facing weak ranges, because again, under the gun limped and the button just like min clicked it back. It was just weird. So I thought that instead of just flatting and then going, you know, and then having the under the gun player call and going 3 ways out of position on 2 players with a bad hand that doesn't play well post flop, I just 3-bet, and then I got both folds, and I picked up a lot of dead money pre-flop. So those are the 2 hands that I thought were interesting from the last few levels. So the first hand, 200, 300, 300. I raised pocket aces under the gun to 800. Middle possession, 3-bets to 2,200, and he was pretty tight. So I thought that he was pre-betting me like pretty strong. So I decided to 4-bet here and to 6K, and he calls. The flop is ace of diamonds, jack of hearts, jack of clubs. So I flop full boat. I c-bet small. I c-bet 2,500. He raises to 7K, and I just smooth call. River is the 7, or no, sorry. The turn is the 10 of clubs. He bets again, same bet, 7K. Usually I find when people bet the same amount on like multiple straights, it's like often weak. So I decided to just call and like hope that he like continues either bluffing into me or just, yeah. So the river is the 7 of spades. He bets 10K. I shove all in for his like last 6K or something, and he winds up folding. So I think, yeah, that was a good one that I picked up. The next hand, 200, 400, 400. Cutoff raises to 1K. Small blind calls, and I call in the big blind with king 6 of spades. The flop is jack of spades, 8 of spades, 2 of clubs. He c-bets 2,500, and I check raise him to 7,200. I don't have a hand that's like super strong. I guess I could check call. I do have the king high flush draw, but I only have king 6. I have no pair or anything, and I decided to check raise here. It's a pretty good board for my range as the big blind caller. So I check raise to 7,200. He thinks for a bit and then calls. The turn is the ace of diamonds. I bet 9,500, and he folds. So that's how we take down pots with king 6 of spades. So folds to small blind. Small blind has like 200 something K. He raises to 10,500. I'm in the big blind with king jack off and I call. The flop is 10, 5, 3, 2 diamonds. I have no diamonds. He checks and I check back. The turn is the queen of diamonds, and now he bets out 10,500 again, and I call. Don't love it, but I have to call, obviously. The river is the king of hearts, and now I have top pair. He bets 20,000, which was like 50% of my stack. So I thought for a little bit and I called, and he had ace queen offsuit for ace queen. So that was a good one. So the blinds were 600, 1200, 1200. Under the gun 1 raises to 2500. Under the gun 2 just calls. And I'm in the low jack with ace of spades, queen of hearts, and I just elect to call. I can 3-bet here at some frequency, but versus an under the gun open, I just don't want to mess around with like super strong ranges and like blow to pot. So I call. The small blind also calls, so we're 4 ways. The flop is 9 of clubs, 9 of diamonds, 2 of hearts. It checks to the under the gun +2 player who bets really small. He bets 2,500, and the way he did it, he just seemed like nervous. It didn't seem strong to me at all. So, and I figured if the under the gun 1 player, who was the initial raiser, had like a strong pair or something, he'd probably just be c-betting the flop. So, I don't know. So I decided to make a loose call here. I know I'm like, you know, not super strong given it's multi-way, but the big blind isn't going to have a lot of hands that often. I mean, he can have more 9s that I guess he's check raising, but at the end of the day, I don't think he has anything too strong. So, so I decided to call with a plan. Both players fold, so it's just me and under the gun +2. So the turn is a 7 of diamonds, and he now checks. So I'm thinking, all right, I don't think he even has too many 9s in his range pre-flop because he called an early position versus an under the gun 1 open. Plus, I block ace 9 and queen 9, which are like some of the combos of 9s he can have. So I think that when he checks the 7 of diamonds turn, I do think he's gonna have some like over pairs, like maybe some like 10s and jacks, but I also think he's gonna have some like middling pairs too, like 6s and 5s and stuff, and maybe absolute air. So I decide to bluff here. I bet 8,500. He thinks forever and then calls. Now the river is the 3 of spades. He has 25K behind, and I bet 15,000, so most of his stack. He thinks forever and folds, so I took down that one with ace high in a multi-way spot, and it was just like really just reading the player and, you know, realizing that I just don't, I mean, it was an ambitious kind of bluff because I mean, like I said, I do put him on some over-pairs, but I also just think he didn't have very much. I was just trying to take it down on the flop with a small bet. The blinds were 600, so 300, 600, 600. I raised to 1,400 under the gun with 10 of hearts, 10 of diamonds. I have like 50K to start the hand. Under the gun +2 calls, middle position calls, and then low jack 3 bets, really small. He goes 5,200. So I'm definitely not folding to this sizing, so I call, and we're heads up. The flop is jack of spades, 3 of hearts, 9 of diamonds. So I have second pair, I have 2 blockers to the straight draw, and I'm good against like hands like ace king, ace queen. He c-bets small, he c-bets 5K. I don't love it, but I call. The turn is the queen of diamonds now. I check and he checks back. So once he checks back, I'm thinking like maybe it's a hand like ace king. Maybe he has a hand like ace jack, but I think he just flat that pre-flop. So I'm glad I went check check. The river was the king of diamonds. Now he has like 15K behind, so I 4 cards straight him, right? So there's 4 cards to straight, and I got there with my 10s. So I think this is a really important spot to shove the river. Like I said, he had 15K behind. There was a lot more than that in the pot. And I like I said, I do think he has a hand like ace king, and I think that it's too easy for him to check back ace king if I check. And the king also brings in some 2-pair combos he can have, like king queen, king jack, if he's 3-betting those pre-flop. So because there's 4 cards to a straight, I think that I would miss out on a lot of value if I didn't shove there, because there's 4 cards to a straight and he might check a hand like ace king back. So he folded and we picked up the pot there, so it's good. Okay, so the blinds were 300, 600, 600. I raised in the cutoff with Jack 9 of spades to 1300. The big blind calls. The big blind is a splashy player. He was defending a lot. He didn't like to fold. So the flop is 8 of spades, 2 of clubs, 7 of diamonds. So I have a gut shot and 2 overs. I see bet here, I see bet 1600. The big blind calls. The turn is the 10 of clubs, so I've turned the straight now. And the big blind leads out for 2200. So I think a lot of people here would just flat, and I think that it would be a mistake. I think it's a good spot to put in a raise because the 10 brings in a lot of 2-pair combos that the big blind can have, like 10-8 suited, 10-7 suited, plus like he could still have like a lot of draws that, you know, we could get value from. And in the event he, you know, has a set or something, then he's probably willing to get it all in on the turn here. So we raise to 6,100 and he calls. The river is the 2 of spades. And I shove. The shove was less than the size of the pot. He thinks forever and then folds. Yeah, so that was a good one. And then the next hand, it was versus the same exact guy, same position. So 300, 600, 600. It was like the next orbit. I raised in the cutoff to 1400 with king 9 of spades. The big blind calls. The flop is king of diamonds, 10 of diamonds, 7 of clubs. He checks and I check back here. I have top pair, but not the greatest kicker. It's a wet board that's gonna be good for the big blind's range, and I definitely don't wanna get check raised. So I check back to pot control. I'm out of breath. The turn is the 3 of spades. He checks, and now I decide to put in a bet here. I go 2,500 and he calls. The river is the 10 of hearts. He bets 3,400. Sorry, I definitely need to get somewhere that's quieter because I cannot think right now. It's so loud. So the river 10 of hearts, he bets 3,400, and I decided to make a hero call here. You know, the draw is bricked. If he has a 10, he has a 10. And I basically have a bluff catcher in that spot. I don't think he's value betting like, a 7 or anything. So I make the hero call and he mucks. So 2 good hands. We're off to the races, off to a good start. We have like 50K coming back to 800 big blinds. So we're in a good spot, like 40 bigs. And I love 6-max tournaments, I really do. Super fun. So this was like the second level of the day. I had like 30-something thousand, maybe 32,000, so over 100 big blinds effective here. The blinds were 200, 300, 300. Under the gun raises to 800, and I have jack of diamonds, jack of clubs in middle position. I call. So I feel like a lot of people would consider 3-betting this spot, and like, it's okay, but I just don't like doing it so early when you're so deep and it's against an under the gun open. Plus, I didn't really have any reads on this player yet because he had just sat down. So I just elected to call and in middle position. The low jack thought the hand was limped, so he threw out a 500 chip and thinking that he's just gonna call, but the bet was actually 800. So then he put out 300 more. So my point of that is he's got some kind of like probably not too strong of a hand, some low pairs, some like, maybe like suited connectors, like 5-6 suited. It's easy to range someone when they misclick like that. So, he calls and the big blind calls as well. So we're 4-way. The turn is the king of diamonds. So now I have a gut shot and a flush draw. The low jack, it checks to the low jack. I check and then the low jack, who is the person who, misclicked pre-flop, bets really small. He bets 800. So I don't love calling here, but I was getting a really good price. Like, he made it really cheap, and I don't think he's gonna have like too many like strong king X combos, you know, no like king queen, no sets really here. So I just thought I'd just call and hope to realize my equity with the diamond or the straight. The river was the 2 of clubs. I check and he quickly checks back and he has king 6 of spades. So yeah, I feel like if he knew the bet was 800 pre-flop, he probably would have folded, but who knows. Very interesting that he checked back too, because I think that he should be value betting that river, especially after going so small on the turn. So the blinds were 200, 400, 400. Under the gun one raises to 1200. I call with 9 of spades, 9 of diamonds in middle position. And then the low jack puts in a really small 3-bet to 3200, and this is the guy that's been in every single hand since I sat down, which is like 5 hands. Under the gun, 1 calls and I call as well. The flop is 8 of diamonds, 7 of clubs, 2 of hearts, so we have an overpair. Checks to the low jack, he c-bets 4K. I definitely anticipated him c-betting because he was just being crazy. And then under the gun 1 calls and I call as well. The turn is the 10 of clubs. He bets again, he bets 8K. And now I've turned open-ended. I don't love calling, but I think I have to call 1 more. It was like 8K into like 22,000 or something, so it's getting a good price. And in the event he was bluffing, then my 9s might be good. So I call. The river is the 2 of diamonds. I check, and he puts in a really small bet. He bets 5K. And he looked pretty nervous, and I'm just like, all right, if there's a chance he's bluffing here, then, you know, I have a bluff catcher at this point. So I call, and he has jack 10 off. So he did have a bluff, kind of. I don't know really what he was doing, if he was value betting the river or not, but yeah, my 9s weren't good there. And then you guys obviously just saw how I busted the 6s all in pre, three ways. Flop ace, ace, 6. I flop a full house, and he rivers kings full. Oh well. The blinds were 300, 600, 600. The button raises to 1200, so just a min raise. And I call in the big blind with 7-5 of hearts. The flop is 8 of hearts, 4 of diamonds, deuce of clubs. The button c-bets small, he bets 800, and I decide to check raise here. I have a gut shot, I have backdoor hearts, and I only have 7 high, plus it's like it's a good board for me. I mean, I can have like 8-4 suited where he really can't, things like that. And so I check raise to 3K, and then he calls. The turn is the queen of hearts. So now I've turned the flush draw, and I'm never check raising that flop to check a turn like this. You know, like I said, I have the flush draw, and the queen is also a scare card. Plus, like, the queen, he shouldn't really have too many like queens in his range when he calls a check raise on the flop. Like maybe like a hand like ace queen or king queen, but I don't think he's like calling a check raise with a hand like queen jack, and even king queen might fold. So the reason the queen is also a good card is because in the event he has a hand like pocket 7s, like he's probably calling a check raise on the flop, but it's going to be hard for him to call another bet on the turn. So I continue betting. I bet 4,600 and we get the fold. So that's a good little check raise with a hand that doesn't have any showdown value but has some backdoor equity, and yeah. The blinds were 400, 800, 800. Middle position raises to 1,600, and I'm in the small blind with queen of diamonds, queen of hearts. I 3-bet to 5,200, and he like snap calls. The flop is 9 of spades, 6 of spades, 6 of hearts. I c-bet 4,200, so I do a little down bet, and he quickly calls. The turn is the ace of hearts. So now I'm thinking I need to like slow it down a little bit. So I check, and he thinks for a second and then checks back. The river is the ace of diamonds, so it's actually a pretty good card because it makes it less likely that he has an ace, right? So I think I need to go for value, especially after he checks back the turn. So I bet 10K, and he snap calls and then mucks, so we won that one. So that was a good little pot. We have about 70K coming back to 1,500 big blind, I believe. So we're chilling. The blinds were 1,000, 2,000, 2,000. I opened 10 of hearts, 10 of spades on the button to 4,200. I was 50,000 effective here, so like 25 bigs. the big blind calls. The flop is 5 of hearts, 4 of diamonds, jack of hearts. I c-bet, I down bet small here to 3,500, and the big blind check raises me to 10K. Now, I definitely think that he is just trying to put pressure on my stack, and I don't block any of the straight draws. I don't love that I have a heart, but I do think he's gonna have like some straight draws like 6-7 or 3-4 suited, or maybe he's just trying to, put pressure on me because of my stack. So I thought I only had one of 2 options. I could either fold or shove. So I decide to shove, and he thinks for a little bit, and then he calls with 8-6 of hearts. So he has just an 8 high flush draw, which I definitely thought he could have some flush draws when he's check raising me there too. I didn't think that he had like too many strong like jack combos. Like I think like pocket jacks, ace jack, 3 bets pre-flop, maybe even king jack. So that was good. And we blocked jack 10. So, and like if he did have a jack, I would think he would just check call the flop instead of check raise, but who knows. So I shove and he calls and we hold. So that was a good one. Okay, so this was a hand. The blinds were 300, 600, 600. I raised queen of spades, queen of clubs under the gun +1 to 1,400. The small blind calls, and the small blind has like 22,000 effective. The flop is 8 of hearts, 5 of clubs, 5 of spades. I c-bet 1,500 and the small blind calls. The turn is the queen of diamonds, so now I've turned queens full. And I decide to check here, and he checks, and then I decide to check back. I decided to be sneaky because he didn't really have that much behind. The river was the jack of diamonds, and he was also like an aggressive player, so I kind of thought that he was gonna like take advantage of my check, and like I thought that maybe he would think it's weak. So, and plus I find that when I'm in a dress, I swear to God, when I'm in a dress against people who don't know me, I find that I get bluffed more. It's like the weirdest thing. Girl equity, yeah. Anyway, so check, the river is the jack of diamonds, and then he bets 3,200, and I decided to jam here for about like 16, 17,000, and he calls with 8 of diamonds, 8 of spades, so he actually had a full house too. So that was a fun one. So we doubled up there. But yeah, so let me know your thoughts on this hand. All right, let's talk about a hand that I played. So the blinds are 500, 1,000 with a 1,000 big blind ante. I raise jack of clubs, jack of diamonds, 3 of diamonds, 3 of hearts, and the cutoff to 2,500. The big blind, who is a solid winning player, he's a Euro reg. The table was actually really, really tough. Lots of pros at my table, lots of Europeans. So yeah, so the big blind calls, some more heads up. The flop is queen of hearts, 7 of hearts, 3 of spades. So I flop bottom set. So with bottom set, like this is a pretty dry texture. There's some flush draws out there, some like, backdoor straight draws. But when you flop bottom set, like you definitely want to fast play it because you don't block top and middle pair. So I definitely think c-betting here is the best option. So I c-bet 4K. And he calls. Plus, like, you want to get value from the flush draws and like hands like ace queen, king queen, things like that. So he calls. The turn is the jack of hearts. So now the flush got there, but I turn top set. So it goes check, and I decide to check back here. He could have been slow playing a set of queens on the flop. He could definitely have the flush. So I just wanted to slow things down a little bit. And so I just decided to check back. So the river is the 2 of hearts. So now there's 4 hearts out there. So I'm feeling better about my hand now because I think that, when there's 4 hearts out there, it makes it a little less likely that he has 2 hearts. Plus I do have heart blocker. So he checks again. So now that he's checking again, I don't think that he has too many strong flushes because I think that he's going to be betting those when I check back the turn. So when I think he's going to be donk leading those on the river. But he checks again. So now I think it's okay to go for some value. So I bet 8K and then he calls and mucks. So yeah, maybe he had like a set of 7s or something. I don't know. But that was a good one. So yeah, we're doing okay. I just could use a little run. Other than that, I mean, I got the aces into kings, which was nice and held. That like is rare that I hold aces in PLO, but PLO is definitely more fun. I'm enjoying myself. Gonna enjoy the last few minutes of my break and then head on back down. The blinds were 200, 400, 400. I just sat down. I registered a little late today. And so I have starting stack. I have 30K. The middle position player raises to 1100. The low jack calls, the cutoff calls, and I'm on the button with ace of spades, queen of hearts. So I decide to 3-bet here to 6,500. Middle position calls, and then the low jack shoves. So it folds to me, and I think for a little bit, and then I end up folding. I think it's too much to get in this early with ace queen. So either the low jack flatted with a big hand, or maybe he was bluffing. He's a solid European player, and I wasn't sure if he knew me. And considering I like just sat down and I made this big 3-bet, I don't think that he's just bluffing in that spot, but maybe. This happened just a little while ago. The blinds were 300, 600, 600. Button opens to 1,500, and he's been opening a lot of buttons. I call in the small blind with 8-7 of hearts. I'm only 21,000 effective, and I know I could definitely 3-bet here, but given my stack size and the button didn't like to fold, I just decided to flat here. The flop is king of clubs, 7 of clubs, 2 of hearts. He c-bets 1,100. I imagine that he's c-betting this board with a wide range, so keep that in mind. And so I call. I have middle pair. The turn is the 5 of hearts, bringing me the flush draw. I check, and he checks back pretty quickly. The river is the 4 of spades, so draws bricks, the club draw bricks, and I check, and he bets 3,500. I think for a little bit, I mean, he can definitely have like all the king X combos. He can have ace king kings. He can have all of that. But I also think that he might think that I'm floating the flop with like some ace highs, maybe hand like, low pairs like 6s or something, or 5s, or well, if 5 would be a set, but you know what I mean. And so I think for a little bit, and then I decide to make the call, and he has 9 of clubs, 8 of spades for the 9 high. So that helped and got me back to like starting stack. So we're in a good spot. Okay, so the blinds were 400, 800, 800. I'm in this small blind with king deuce of spades, and the action folds to me. The big blind, who's this like super aggro player, has been like blasting, and apparently got really lucky early, so he had a ton of chips. He started the hand with like 250K. 3-bets me to 2,700, or he raises me. So it folds to me in the small blind, I call, he raises to 2,700. I definitely plan on calling. I anticipated him raising with a really wide range. So I call. The flop is jack of spades, 5 of spades, 8 of spades. So I flop the second nut flush. Now against a really aggressive player, I kind of want to just let him continue, like bluff into me. So I check, and he c-bets small. He c-bets 1,500, and I call. The turn is clean. It's the 3 of clubs. I check again, and I imagine that because he bets so small on the flop, that he's probably thinking I'm floating him wide on the flop. So I thought he was going to fire again, which he does. He bets 5K. And then I raise to 14,500, and he like shoves. Obviously I call, and he has 8 of diamonds, 3 of spades, and the river was the 4 of clubs, and we hold. So actually we don't hold, we had him drawing dead. So that was a fun one, almost done. Really quickly, the blinds were 500, 1,000, 1,000. Under the gun 1 raises to 2,200. I 3-bet ace 9 of hearts and a low jack to 7K. It's a good 3-betting spot, not great flatting hand. Anyway, the flop is king of diamonds, 4 of spades, 7 of hearts, so I don't have much. I have backdoor hearts. So I c-bet 3,200, and he calls. The turn is the 5 of hearts, so I've turned the flush draw, and he donk leaves for 5,500, and I call. The river is the 6 of hearts, so I've rivered the nut flush, and he shoves, and obviously I snap, and he has 7 of spades, 7 of clubs. So that was a fun one. back up to 100K. The blinds were 500, 1,000, 1,000. I have pocket aces, pocket rockets, ace of diamonds, ace of clubs in middle position. I raised to 2,400. The button and the big blind call. The flop is 10 of diamonds, 9 of diamonds, 4 of spades. Now, I know I have a diamond blocker, but this is a pretty good board for the big blind. And I, like on a texture like this, you get check raise, you can get check raise a lot. So I just decided it checks to me. I decided to just check this one back and pot control a little bit. The turn is the 2 of diamonds. So now I've turned the nut flush draw and I still have my aces. The big blind donk leads for 5,500 and I smooth call. The river is the 2 of spades. So all of the draws bricked and he bets 10K. So he bets pretty big. And I mean, not that big, but he bets, yeah, decently big. And I call and he has queen of spades, jack of hearts. I'm definitely not, I mean, especially once the board paired the river, I don't think he has like any deuces because I don't think he's leading the turn with a deuce. So I just thought, you know, in the event he had like 10-9 for 2 pair, like then I'm good. And then I also thought he was gonna be bluffing hands like queen jack and 70, things like that. The blinds are 500, 1,000, 1,000. I raise queen of spades, jack of diamonds in middle position to 2,400 and the big blind calls. The flop is 10 of clubs, 10 of diamonds, deuce of spades. This is a board where I should be c-betting like pretty much my entire range here. So I c-bet 1,400 and he calls. The turn is the queen of hearts and now I've picked up top pair. He checks and I decided to check back here. Just in the event he has a 10, I just don't, you know, I just thought that I would just slow things down. Plus I didn't think that that I could get 3 streets of value from a hand like pocket sevens or something when the queen of hearts on the board. So the river is the 8 of clubs and he bets 9K. He bets really big. This is like the size of the pot. So this is really polarized. I definitely don't love it, but I don't think I can ever fold here. So I call and he has jack 10 offsuit. So jack of diamonds, 10 of spades. So he did have the 10, but I do think he's gonna have a lot of bluffs there because he can rep more 10s than I can, if that makes sense, because he's flatting a wider range of 10s pre-flop. All right, so the blinds were 300, 500, 500. I raised in the low jack to 1K with 4 clubs, 4 of hearts. The hijack cutoff and button all call. So there's like 5,300 in the pot. The flop is 4 spades, 10 of clubs, 9 of spades. So I flop bottom set and I c-bet 3,500, the hijack and the button call. Now I talked this hand over with Chrissy Foxon and I agree. She thinks that I should have bet bigger on the flop. Okay, so hijack and button call. There's now 15,800 in the pot. The turn is the jack of clubs. So this brings in like a lot of 2-pair combos that they can have that I can get value from. I bet 9K and again, Chrissy either thinks that the 9K is good or she thinks maybe check shoving the turn, which is kind of interesting because there's still like a lot of draws and 2 pairs that I can get value from. And if they don't have like too many straights, or at least they shouldn't. But so anyway, I bet 9K. The button calls. There's now like 34,000 in the pot. The river is the ace of clubs, and I bet 16K, and he folds. So yeah, maybe check shove turn would have been good. Another hand that I played. Let's see. The blinds were 200, 400, 400. I opened ace 6 of diamonds in middle position to 1,000. The button and the big blind call. The flop is jack of clubs, 4 of diamonds, 3 of diamonds. I c-bet 1,600 and both players call. The turn is the 5 of spades. Now I have the diamond flush draw plus open-ended. I definitely think I should be betting again. Maybe I could have gone a little bigger. I bet 5,800. The button calls. The river is the 5 of hearts, so I bricked everything. I could either check back and give up, but I don't like doing that. So I bet 15K, which was like almost the size of the pot. And then he thinks for a while and then folds. So got that big bluff through. I have like 90K and we're coming back to, I think, 1,200 big blinds. So we're in a really good spot. This is such a great structure. It's like, you have so much like time and so much playability. It's so much better than these like bingo tournaments that I've been playing, like the $500 buy-ins, they're just like such a fast structure, and it's like you have to get so lucky. This, like, I feel like I'm actually playing poker, which is nice and fun. Blinds are 1K, 2,500, 2,500. I raise with king, queen of hearts, under the gun 1 to 5K. Late position and the big blind call. The flop is 9 of hearts, 6 of hearts, 4 of spades. So I have 2 overs, second nut flush draw. The big blind leads out for 10K, and he's like 40K effective here. I think he's gonna have some draws. I think I have fold equity if I shove, and I only have like 55K behind. So I decide to shove, and he thinks for a while, and then he calls with jack 9 of clubs. So he flopped top pair, not the best kicker, and he holds. So that was an unfortunate one. Another hand that I played earlier that was kind of interesting, the blinds were 1K, 2K, 2K. Middle position opens to 5,200, and I have ace of hearts, deuce of spades in the big blind, and I call. The flop is ace of diamonds, 10 of spades, 8 of spades, and he c-bets 7,500. The player, by the way, I think his name is Mike Wang. He's a really good player. I call, I flop top pair here. It's a good board for me too. The turn is a deuce of clubs, so now I turn 2 pair, and I decided donk lead here for 16K. I think that my hand requires some protection. There are a lot of draws, and I think I could still get value from his like ace king, ace queen hands. Plus it could look like I have, you know, a lot of draws, that so like he might call with like queens and stuff. So he calls. The river's a 5 of diamonds. Obviously 5 diamonds, no draws, you know, no flush draw gets there. I shove, and he thinks for a little bit and then folds. So I think I got him to fold a hand like ace king, which, yeah, wasn't ideal because I would have liked him to call with that. The blinds were 200, 400, 400. Early position raises to 1,000. Middle position calls, and I call in the big blind with ace 4 of hearts. The flop is 8 of clubs, 4 of clubs, 4 of diamonds. So I flop trips with an ace kicker. I check. Middle position c-bets 1,300. Early position c-bets 1,300. Middle position folds, and I check raise to 4K. Now this is a spot where it's a board where I think as the big blind, I'm gonna have a lot of check raises with like drawing hands and backdoor equity hands. So I think a lot of my club draws are gonna be check raising, maybe hands like 5, 6 suited, 3, 5 suited, things like that. Maybe 6, 7. With a backdoor flush draw or something. So I think that I can be pretty balanced here when I check raise. Like, I am going to have some trips, but I'm also going to have a lot of draws. And as the pre-flop opener, and he's c-betting into 2 players, I think he's going to have like a lot of overpairs and hands I can call. So, but he wound up folding. But I just thought it was interesting. So the blinds were 300, 600, 600. I raised 7 of hearts, 7 of diamonds in middle position to 1,400. The big blind, who I have a read on, he's like pretty sticky, he's calling a lot, he calls. The flop is 3 of spades, deuce of clubs, deuce of spades. I c-bet, I down bet to 1,100, and he calls. The turn is a 3 of clubs, so now it's 3 deuce deuce 3 with 2 flush draws. I decide to check here. Well, he checks, and I decide to check back. He's gonna have more 3 and deuce combos than I can have, and I wasn't sure I could get 3 straights from a hand like pocket 4s, 5s, 6s, things like that. So I just thought I would just kind of like slow things down and give it a check. The river, and plus like he was the type of player who like was betting a lot when checked to. So I thought that I could do some bluffs, like maybe like get some like bricked flush draws to bet, things like that. Maybe hand like 4 or 5. Anyway, the river is the king of spades. He checks, and now I think that after he checks twice, I think I can go for value now. So I bet 4K, and he calls and mucks. So that was a good one. Yep. So the blinds were 300, 600, 600. I raised 7 of hearts, 7 of diamonds in middle position to 1,400. The big blind, who I have a read on, he's like pretty sticky, he's calling a lot, he calls. The flop is 3 of spades, deuce of clubs, deuce of spades. I c-bet, I down bet to 1,100, and he calls. The turn is a 3 of clubs, so now it's 3 deuce deuce 3 with 2 flush draws. I decide to check here. Well, he checks, and I decide to check back. He's gonna have more 3 and deuce combos than I can have, and I wasn't sure I could get 3 straights from a hand like pocket 4s, 5s, 6s, things like that. So I just thought I would just kind of like slow things down and give it a check. The river, and plus like he was the type of player who like was betting a lot when checked to. So I thought that I could do some bluffs, like maybe like get some like bricked flush draws to bet, things like that. Maybe hand like 4 or 5. Anyway, the river is the king of spades. He checks, and now I think that after he checks twice, I think I can go for value now. So I bet 4K, and he calls and mucks. So that was a good one. Yep. The blinds were 1K, 2,500, 2,500. I raised ace of diamonds, ace of clubs under the gun to 5,500, and I'm 97,000 effective. The hijack calls, and we're heads up. The flop is 4 of hearts, 5 of clubs, 9 of diamonds. I see bet 6K. You like that sizing?
I like sizing.
Okay.
1/3 pot.
Yeah, he calls. The turn is the 5 of diamonds, and I bet 16K. You like that sizing? Half pot. He calls, but then he like kind of went to cut out chips for a raise, and I kind of thought it was strong, but Chris thinks it might have been like a weak play.
Yeah, I definitely think live poker, people tend to do that kind of stuff they try to control you on the river.
I agree. And he just sat down at the table, so I didn't really have any live reads. Anyway,
aces.
I know.
It's hard to make a pair.
The river is the 8 of hearts, and this is where I messed up. I decided to go into check call mode because 6-7 got there, but I guess I should have bet folded the river like that, and then if he raised, then fold. But I check, and he quickly checked back and mucked. So Chris thinks I should have bet the river.
Value.
Yeah, I get value from like worse pairs and
A lot of stuff.
A lot of stuff, yeah. The blinds were 3,000, 5,000, 5,000. Tight under the gun player raises to 11K. I have jack of spades, jack of clubs in middle position. I decided just flat here. I'm taking a lot of like low variance lines in this. So I just decided to flat. And the small blind calls too. The flop is 6 of clubs, 5 of hearts, 4 of diamonds. The small blind donk leads for 26K. Pretty big bet. It's like into 30K or something, 30, 40K. Under the gun folds, I call. The turn is the king of diamonds, and he bets 31K again. Now, I definitely am not too happy, but I think he's gonna have a lot of like open-ended, straight draws. I think he's gonna have some like, pairs that he's leading. So maybe, diamonds or something. So he bets 31K. I call again. The river's the ace of spades, so that slows him down. He checks, and I just check back, and he has pocket 7s. So he just donk led with the open-ended straight draw and the overpair, which is nice. So we picked up a good one. The blinds were 3K, 6K, 6K. Under the gun, who's a solid European, who's a solid European player, raises to 12K. I'm in the big blind with queen 10 of spades. The flop is king of diamonds, 5 of spades, 4 of spades. So I flop, queen high flush draw. He c-bets 16K, and I call. The turn is the 8 of hearts. This is a better card for me as the big blind pre-flop caller. I'm gonna have a lot of 6-7s there. I can have some 2 pairs, all the sets, whatever. And I didn't necessarily want to check call again. And he's been double barreling a lot, like putting a lot of pressure on, really good player. So I lead 35K, and he thinks for a little bit and then folds, and later says that he had a king, so I got him to fold a king. So took a good little one down there. He's a really good player, really nice guy too. So the blinds were 100, 200, 200. I raised 8 of diamonds, 8 of clubs, 5 of hearts, 5 of spades in early position to 500. The low jack calls. The flop is deuce of spades, 6 of clubs, 8 of spades. So I flop top set on, pretty wet texture. I bet 800, and she raises to 1,800. Now I decided to fast play this, try to get all of her draws to get it in on the flop. So I pot to 6,800, and she calls. The turn is the 9 of diamonds. So 5-7 got there, but I blocked that because I have 2 5s. So I wasn't like too worried about that. And I don't think she has like 10-7 really. So I pot all in, and she calls with ace, jack of spades, and then I didn't get to catch her other 2 cards, but she had enough flush draw. So I took down a pretty big pot. I stacked her. And then one quick one, a really simple spot that I thought was interesting. The blinds were 200, 300, 300. The button raises to 600. So just a min raise. I flat ace of clubs, 3 of diamonds in the big blind. The flop is king of diamonds, 8 of clubs, 6 of clubs. So I have nothing, but I do have the ace of clubs, and it's a good board for me as the pre-flop big blind, caller from the big blind. So he c-bets 400, and I check raise him to 1500, and he folds because my hand isn't strong enough to check call. So I thought it was a good spot for me to check raise, and then I could continue barreling on all club turns. So that's it. It was 300, 500, 500 big blind. Under the gun, 1 raises to 1200. The low jack calls. I call on the button with 9, 8 of hearts, and the small blind also calls. The flop is 9 of spades, 8 of clubs, 2 of hearts. The small blind, who's like super tight player, leads out for 1K. It's really small sizing. I actually took it as weak. I thought it was maybe like 6, 7, jack 10, things like that. So she leads out for 1K. Under the gun 1 raises to 2800. Now, the under the gun 1 player was the original raiser, so I think she's gonna have like a lot of overpairs. I elected to call here, and in hindsight, I maybe should have just fast played it and come over the top and try to get the stacks in on the flop, but I wanted the small blind player to come along too, and I was in position on both players, so I thought that if I called, the small blind was gonna call, and then I could just like raise, get it in on the turn. But so the small blind did call. The turn was the queen of clubs, so that was the worst card in the deck because now jack 10 gets there. Small blind bets 10,200. Under the gun 1 folds, and this spot, like I don't love, but I think my hand is too strong not to call one more time, so I call again. The river is the 6 of clubs. She shoves, and I think for a while, and I fold. Like I still had a lot behind. I had like 25 big blinds behind, so yeah, I don't think she's ever bluffing there. Like her sizing, like the 1K on the flop looked like super weak and like draw heavy, and then the 10K on the turn just was so strong. So I got away from it. Let me know your thoughts in the comments on that one. But anyway, let's jump back in. So the blinds were 300, 500, 500. I opened to ace 10 of diamonds in early position of 1300. Now keep in mind that the table has been pretty frustrated with me. I showed down a few bluffs, and yeah, they just think that I'm like crazy, but pretty balanced actually. So I opened ace 10 of diamonds in early position to 1300. The small blind, who is definitely tilted at me, I showed him a big bluff, called, and the big blind called. The flop is ace of spades, king of diamonds, 7 of diamonds, so I have top pair and the nut flush draw. Small blind leads out for 1K. The big blind folds, and I call. The turn is the 4 of clubs. He now checks, and I definitely think I should be betting for value. You know, in the event I do hit my flush, I've created a bigger pot. So I bet 7K, and he calls. The river's the jack of diamonds, so now I've hit my nut flush, and it also brings in some like two pair combos so you can have like ace jack, king jack, things like that. So because he's been pretty like tilted and I showed him a big bluff, I decided to overbet here. This is a good spot for an overbet. So I bet 20,000, and he now calls with 5-4 diamonds. So I did flush over flush him, but yeah, just like one of those good spots for an overbet. It was 200, 300, 300. The hijack raises to 800. I 3-bet to 2,800 with 5-4 of hearts. He min-click 4-bets it back to like 6,200. Like he like min-raises back to 6,200. I definitely call. I think there's a spot where getting a good price. We're really deep. It was like the early levels, so you know, very deep effective stacks. And I'm in position, so I call. The flop is king of hearts, 4 of spades, 3 of hearts. So I have a pair and a 5-high flush draw. It goes check, and I decide to check back. The turn is the 2 of clubs. He bets 8K now. I definitely don't think I can fold, so I call. The river is the 8 of spades, and he now checks, and I think that like I should be turning my hand into a bluff here. I don't know, you know, if my pair force is going to be good, and like in the event he just decided to 4-bet with like ace jack or something, then you know I'm gonna win. So I bet 12K, and he calls with pocket aces, so that did not work out. The headline is just this one time. All right, the blinds were 300, 500, 500. A player in middle position raises to 1,000 and was called by the player directly to his left. I'm gonna be all dramatic when I read this. Lexy Gavin-Mather then raised to an even 5,000 from the big blind. I definitely like this spot as a 3-bet for value, and if they both fold bet, then that's a win. Whatever. Okay. The initial raiser called, and the player in between folded. Heads up, they saw a flop of king of clubs, 3 of hearts, 7 of clubs. This time, Gavin-Mather downsized to 3,600 and was called yet again. The turn brought the 6 of hearts, and she fired for a larger 12,500. At this point in the hand, the gentleman in the middle position asked Gavin-Mather, "Do you have a big hand?" Gavin-Mather didn't offer any information despite maintaining a friendly demeanor. All right, said her opponent as he picked up his hand and swished 2 queens back and forth before throwing them in the muck. I fold my pair of queens to you. Lexy Gavin-Mather then went on to say, okay, well, just because Poker News is here, and showed her ace of clubs, queen of hearts, which is just ace high, to the table, going to say that was my only bluff of the day. Her table mates chimed in and they weren't so sure of that and continued to play on. So, oh, what did you get?
Apple fritter.
Ah. Oh my god. Yum.
I don't know why I
Let me
can't.
know your thoughts on that ham. Blinds were 800, 1600, 1600. Middle position raises to 5K. I 3-bet pocket kings. I have king of diamonds, king of spades to 13,500. He thinks for a little bit and then calls. The flops 9 of spades, 5 of clubs, 3 of hearts. So like such a great flop for our hands. Such a great flop, not worried about anything. I c-bet 10K into about 30K, so about a third pot. And he calls. The turn is the 2 of clubs, bringing in a flush draw, and he snap shoves for 60K. I snap call, and he shows ace jack of clubs, so the river is a 4 of hearts, and he rivered a straight. I mean, he had a lot of outs, so it's like not that bad, but it's just like the whole hand was weird, like how he raised a 5K pre-flop and then just like the line is just, I don't know. I think he should have folded the flop, but whatever.
The blinds were 200.
Be nice to him, guys.
Okay, the blinds were 200. Under the gun raised it to 2,000. I had ace king, not suited.
I say just flat this early.
Okay, do you want to do this video or do you
No,
want me
I'm
to?
just, go ahead.
I mean, maybe everybody'd like to know what do you think. So I just flatted. And another guy, let's call him the villain, flatted. The flop was ace 3 7.
Okay.
Rainbow. Under the gun checked, I checked, which I think was the mistake.
I think you can bet there.
Villain bet 2,000. Under the gun called, I called. The turn was a queen. Check, check, check. The river was a blank. At this point, I think I blacked out.
I blacked out.
It was check, check. He bet 5,000. Villain bet 5,000. I called, and he had a set of queens.
I definitely think you should call, but I think you should bet yourself when it's checked to you. Yeah, the blinds are 100, 200, 200. Under the gun raises to 500. I have king of diamonds, king of spades in middle position, and I 3-bet to 1,500. Now we're so deep. I probably should have chosen the sizing like 2,500, but I don't know. It's day 1A of the main event, or day 1 of the main event. I just chose a smaller sizing.
Thank you.
But definitely should have sized up. Low jack cold calls the 3-bet and under the gun calls. The pot is 5,000. The flop is 10 of spades, 9 of diamonds, 6 of clubs. I see bet 1,600. I think my sizing is fine on the flop here, especially on such a wet texture. Scary board. So I see bet 1,600. The under the gun player calls. The turn is the king of clubs. So now I have top set of kings. I bet 5,500. Now here, I think I maybe should have sized up a little bit more, but I go 5,500 and under the gun player calls. Now there's 19,200 in the pot. The river is the deuce of hearts. He checks and I bet 9K. Now I thought I was so close to checking back the river here because it's really hard to get 3 straights of value from worse when there's 2 different straights on the board. He never has jack 8, so I'm not worried about that, but he can certainly have queen jack suited. So I don't know, I should have probably checked back because it was a solid player, and I'm more like, I think I should be checking back more when it's a solid player and then betting against weaker players, because weaker players are going to call me wider and more incorrectly, whereas a stronger player is going to fold more and maybe even have some check raise bluffs. Well, probably not having check raise bluffs on that board. Anyway, so I bet 9K and he raises to 33,000 and I fold. So I just fold the top set of kings, but there's literally no other hand that he can have there unless he decided to do something crazy like turn pocket queens into a bluff because he see his blockers to queen jack, but I highly, highly doubt that, especially in the... So the blinds were 200, 300, 300. Early position raises to 800. I call on the button with 8, 7 of diamonds, and the big blind calls. The big blind is a recreational player. The flop is queen of spades, 8 of clubs, 7 of spades. He's not even listening. You're so rude. All right, go to the bathroom.
Go.
Just go. Yeah, so flop is queen of spades, 8 of clubs, 7 of spades. It checks to me and I bet 1,600. The big blind check raises me to 3,500. I think the best thing for me to do here is call, so that's what I do. I don't want to 4-bet because I don't want to have to like fold a few 5-bets, and yeah, I just want to keep it, you know, small ball. The turn is the ace of diamonds and he bets 8K again and I call. The river is the 8 of spades, now giving me the full house. No, you don't. Giving me the full house, he bets. If you fold, then you're the biggest nit in the world.
Well, I have more chips than you, don't I?
Okay. River is the 8 of spades. He bets 15K. I don't think I can ever fold here, especially because he's a recreational player. I think he might be like overvaluing a flush in that spot. And he can also have like worse full houses. Like he could have like 7s full, right? And I have 7s full of 8s. I have 8s full of 7s. So he bets 15K and I call, and he has pocket queens, queen of diamonds, queen of clubs. And he didn't 3-bet pre-flop, which was weird with queens. And the check min raise on the flop was just so weak. Like it's so hard to put him on queens there. But whatever, got boat over boated, and that's how I lost most of my stack. And it's all good. Still have like 25 big blinds, so.
I got boat over.
So the blinds were 500, 1,000, 1,000. Middle position raises to 2,000. I call on the big blind with jack 7 of spades, and I'm like 40,000 effective. The flop is 4 of spades, jack of spades, 8 of hearts.
What's that mean?
What?
40,000 effective.
It means that's like that's the smallest stack in play. The flop is 4 of spades, deuce of spades, ace of hearts. He c-bets 2K. This is a good board for me as the big blind pre-flop caller. My hand, like, I have the jack high flush draw, but it's not like a super strong hand to just check call. So because it's a pretty good board for me, I decide to check raise to 6,500. He thinks for a little bit and then he calls. The turn is the 10 of clubs. So now I definitely think I should be betting again. The 10 is like kind of a scare card in the event he had a hand like pocket 8s or something that he felt so inclined to call a check raise on the flop. It's now going to be harder for him to call another barrel on the turn. Plus, I could always improve to a flush. So I bet 8,500 and he calls. The river is the 3 of clubs, and I go all in. I miss everything, but there's 4 cards to a straight out there. I can have more 5 combos than him. So I think I shove. He thinks for a while and he folds and he says he has king 10 of spades. The next hand, 500, 1K, 1K, button raises to 2,500, and I decide to flatten the small blind with king of spades, jack of hearts. Now, I feel like 80% of the time I 3-bet there, but you don't always want to do the same thing in every situation. Like, you kind of want to balance a little bit. So I decided to flat that particular situation. The big blind calls too. The flop is queen of diamonds, 5 of hearts, 10 of hearts, so I flop open-ended. And it checks around. The turn is the 9 of clubs, so now I've hit the straight. I bet 4K, button calls. The river is the 3 of diamonds. I bet 13,000, which is about a pot-sized bet, which looks fluffier because, you know, the heart's brick, so I kind of want to look like I bricked a flush draw. Plus, I just made that big bluff with the jack high, which I showed. So I bet 13K, and the button calls, and then mucks. The blinds were 2K, 4K, 4K. I open king of hearts, jack of diamonds in middle position to 8,000. Hijack and the big blind calls. The flop is jack of spades, 3 of spades, jack of hearts. I see bet 9K, so about a third pot, a little less than a third pot, and the hijack calls. This is a board where I should be c-betting at a high frequency anyway, and whenever you c-bet at a high frequency, you want to choose a small sizing. So the turn is the 8 of clubs, and I bet again. I bet 20K, and he calls again. The river is the 7 of diamonds, definitely betting for value again. I bet 35,000, he tanks, and then folds. So yeah, he probably had some kind of like middling pair or something. Let's talk about an interesting hand that I played. So the blinds were 300, 600, 600. The middle position, who is a pro, raises to 1,200. and I 3-bet to 3,600 with ace of hearts, 10 of clubs. Now this really isn't a good flatting hand. It's not like super strong. It doesn't flop well post flop, so it's better to put hands like this into your 3-bet bluff range. Also, it's nice because you have an ace, which blocks a lot of their snap calls and their 4-bets, right? Like when I have an ace, it blocks their chances of having ace king, aces, ace queen, things like that. So anyway, so I 3-bet to 3,600, and he calls. The flop is 10 of spades, 8 of hearts, 5 of hearts. So I flop top, but I decided to, he checks, and I decided to check back here. I didn't want to get check raised. I was pretty confident that my hand was good, but I just kind of wanted to slow things down. I mean, he could definitely have jacks and queens. Like, he might not necessarily 4-bet queens pre-flop because we're pretty deep, and I don't even know if he knows me, so without a read, I don't know. So anyway, the turn is the 8 of spades. He checks again, so now I really don't think he has much. I think if he did have some kind of strong pair, he'd probably lead the turn. So I think now is definitely a time I go for value. So I bet 3,800 and he calls. The river is the 2 of diamonds. He checks, and I bet 5,000, which is like a very thin value bet. Not necessarily very thin, but it's finished value bet. And he thinks for a little bit and calls and mucks. So that was a fun one. The blinds were 1K, 2,500, 2,500. The cutoff raises to 5,000. I'm on the button with ace of hearts, ace of diamonds. I 3-bet to 11K, and he calls. Now, a lot of people would just like call in a spot and slow play, but I think that since it's cutoff versus button, I think that people are, you know, the cutoff would probably assume that I'm 3-betting a wide range there. So I might get some 4-bets or some looser calls out of him. So I 3-bet to 11K, he calls. The flop is ace of hearts, 6 of spades, 5 of diamonds. I bet 14K and he calls. The turn is a 4 of spades, now bringing in 4 cards to a straight. He checks and I check back. The river is the jack of hearts, and he bets 15K, and I thought for a little bit, and I called, and he had ace 7 of clubs. He's really not supposed to have like too many 7 combos there. Like, I guess he can have pocket 7s, but even that hand like might fold to the 3-bet pre-flop. And like if he had a hand like 8-7, 6-7, 6-7 would probably fold. 8-7 suited might call, but it would have to be the suited combinations of those hands in order to be able to call. So. And I blocked ace-7, which was unfortunate. So that was an unlucky one. Another interesting one that I played earlier, it's a pre-flop spot. The blinds were 600, 1,200, 1,200. The cutoff opens to 2,400. Aggro button 3-bets to 6,000. And I'm in a small blind with ace-10 of clubs. This isn't like the best spot to just cold call the 3-bet. And since I have blockers and it's late position, I decided to turn this into a 4-bet bluff hand. So I raised to 15,500 and both players fold. So that was a good spot to pick up some dead money pre-flop. And so the blinds were 500, 1,000, 1,000. Cutoff raises to 2,000, and I'm on the button with king of spades, jack of diamonds. I decided to 3-bet this to 6K. I could flat, I could fold, all the options are okay, but I decided to 3-bet this particular situation. So I 3-bet to 6K, button calls. Or I'm sorry, on the button, and the cutoff calls. The flop is ace of spades, queen of hearts, 4 of spades. So I have a gut shot, I have the king of spades, and I only have king high. Plus it's a better board for me than him, as I was the pre-flop 3-better. So I c-bet. No need to go too big in this spot, because if he doesn't have anything, he's not going to be able to call. So a small bet will get the job done. If he does call, then he probably just has something on this board. So I don't want to risk too much. So that's a long winded, I know. So I bet 4K and he calls. The turn is the deuce of spades. So now I have turned the king high flush draw. Plus I have a blocker to the flush. So a little less likely he has a flush. So it's probably a good barrel situation. So I bet 12,000 and he thinks for a little bit and then folds. The blinds were 500, 1000, 1000. Hijack raises to 2000. The button calls, and I call in the big blind with 5-4 of clubs. The flop is Jack of diamonds, 6 of clubs, 5 of hearts. So I have a gut shot, I have backdoor 5 high clubs, which is whatever. And it's an okay board for me. So the hijack C bets 2500, the button folds, and I check raise to 7500. I don't love check calling because my hand's like not really strong enough to check call. I mean, I guess I could and just hope to spike my 3. But I think a check raise is good, especially because I think he's going to be c-betting this board at a high frequency, because it's kind of hard for the big blind and the button and I to have a hand here. I mean, it's not like really a great board for me. I'm going to have a lot of gut shots, like 4-5, 3-5 suited, things like that. But really like no 2 pairs or anything. Maybe 6 deuce suited, maybe. Anyway, so I check raise 7500. He thinks for a little bit and then calls. The turn is the queen of diamonds, and I bet 13K, and he thinks for a little bit and he calls. The river is the 3 of spades, so I have rivered my gut shot. Ding. Yeah, I shove and then he folds.